And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Andy Webb with Lifestyles Unlimited. And as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And yes, this is Andy. I'm filling in today for Al Gordon. He is, again, off living the lifestyle. And I'm excited to be hosting the Tell Al Show. I'm joined by a solid investor today with experience actually both in single family and multifamily investing. We'll probably focus a little more on the single family side. Retired, like we like to see, retired from corporate America early, and himself is living the lifestyle as well. So let me bring on Sorrell. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andy. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. You and I spoke, it's been a good year and a half, maybe March or so of 2022. I know it was ahead of the last one of the expos, but you and I are kind of kindred spirits. You and Al are kindred spirits. We like to travel. We like to get out there and see the world. And I know you gave me the country count on that last show, and I don't remember. You've seen a lot of the world. You're a globe trotter. What's the update on the countries visited?
The country count is 98. I was, probably into the 40s or so when I set the goal. And I'm actually going to achieve that in September because I'm going to Cyprus and Israel, and that'll be 99 and 100.
Well, very good. I don't know where I'm at, but I can tell you it pales in comparison to that. We'll get there. Maybe that needs to be my goal, Sorrell. It's good to have goals, right?
I did work at a travel company, so a lot of that is, not company sponsored or induced, let's say, but about half of it, a little over half of it's mine, and close to half of it is through work in one way or another.
Through that corporate experience. Okay, and that's what you were doing when you finally had your eyes opened and said, hey, I'm looking at the horizon, 100 countries is my goal, but I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon. I need to do something about that. And you did. You retired very, very quickly once you shifted your plans. How did you do it?
Yeah, absolutely correct. I was looking at working forever. I didn't even see a retirement date in my future because I did not save well in my youth. And so I was in my early 50s, and when I joined Lifestyles, and I was kind of the Dave Ramsey guy, and I look back, and I had a Dave Ramsey plan. I didn't have a lot of debt when I joined Dave Ramsey, but I was looking to maximize my savings. And so I put together a spreadsheet, and because Dave does real estate, but he does it obviously different than we do. So I had a plan that I would, because I joined in 2013, joined Lifestyles in 2013. And I had a plan to pay off my house, which is really the only debt I had, and then start saving to buy my first rental property. And so I would have done that, and I still have that spreadsheet, and I would have had enough money to buy a rental property in Houston in 2019, and it would have cash flowed about I was figuring back then $800 to $1,000 a month. And so today I would still be working with probably 2 rent houses and a couple of $1,000s of rental income. And in less than 4 years, about 3.5 years, I was able to retire with, multitudes more money than what the Dave Ramsey plan would have given me. So I still would have been working with no future retirement date in mind had I not found Lifestyles Unlimited.
Yeah, and that's the problem with most quote retirement plans out there. They are savings based. In your case, saving to buy these rental houses all cash. That's a lot of money out of pocket. If they're rehab houses, there's even more going into that side of the equation. Yeah, your cash flow is going to be a little bit higher because you don't have a mortgage on the property, but now, congratulations, you've got one asset. Instead, you went the different route, which we talk about, which is using leverage, using debt, buying those distressed assets. Our cash flow will be a little thinner as a result of the mortgage, but we can get a lot of those assets into play, right? That's the target.
Absolutely, yeah. The cash flow per house is lower, but you can buy more houses, and therefore the cash-on-cash return, your out-of-pocket versus the cash flow is more than double.
Yeah. And I think, again, thinking about the retirement plan that most Americans have, it is namely that pile of savings, which is what you were working towards. But you shifted as well when you use the word cash flow several times to less of a savings-based plan and it sounds like then an income or cash flow-based plan. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. That's what we talk about. Create passive income. How long did it? You said 3.5 years to get that passive income you needed?
About 3.5 years. About 3.5 years, and I realized that my income from my real estate was exceeding my what I call my net cash flow, my net income. It wasn't pure net income because at the time I was still saving a lot of money through my retirement vehicle. So the cash that I was living on, I had exceeded that. And that's when I realized I could now actually retire from corporate America.
I'm curious, you mentioned you joined Lifestyles Unlimited in 2013. You'd been kind of exploring other paths, right, a la, let's say, Dave Ramsey and co. How did you hear about Lifestyles then, and what made you come on board?
I heard it on the radio, probably like most people do, and I was frustrated with my retirement situation at work. I had kind of a really bad financial almost disaster. I made some really bad decisions, corporate decisions. I mean, I was still I'm working at a company. I was not self-employed, but I left one great company, one good company. If it was great, I probably would have stayed. But I left a good company thinking I was going to a better company. It turned out to be a scam. And this was literally less than 2 weeks before 9/11. So I kind of got caught in the finding a good job after 9/11. And so I had a really bad end of 2001 and 2002, and ended up at the job where I worked for 14 years before I retired, and started making a lot of money. But as I was recovering from the bad year and a half financially, and I started making more and more and more money, but I didn't have much savings for retirement. And as I kept trying to save, I kept running into roadblocks, that the government imposed on the retirement vehicles, and I couldn't maximize my savings, and I made too much money for an IRA, things like that, and so I was just looking for other ways to save. I'd never done any other investing except just the retirement vehicles at work. And so one day I literally heard it on the radio, and I'm thinking, well, this sounds interesting. And so I went to a free workshop and then the 2-day and joined. So a lot of members I talked to as a mentor, they've heard the program on the radio for years, or they've been a member for months. But from the time I first heard it on the radio, I was at the free workshop in the same week. I was at the 2-day in the same month, and I joined at the challenge level that day. So in less than 2 weeks, I was a challenge member looking for single-family properties.
Very good. So you saw opportunity and you grabbed it, you seized it. And I think that makes you a good mentor, because we'll explore this later in the show. I know a lot of people, even after they join, I was one of these, in fact, they still put mental hurdles in their way. It took us, we were not that fast, Sorrell. We joined in March of 2012, didn't get our first house till August, looked at a ton of them. A lot of opportunities with 2012, great opportunity that we were scared. I don't know, whatever. But we'll get to that. I'm curious, though. So you sat through the 2-day, and for the listener, that's 16 hours of education around real estate investing. The first day is devoted to single family. The second day, another 8 hours, is devoted to investing in apartments. And there are different modalities as far as being an apartment investor. But you chose to go the single family route. I'm curious, what was the reasoning there? Why did you go that direction?
Well, the market was different than it is today, in that the cash flow was much higher than today's cash flow in single-family properties. And my method was I wanted to retire. I was ready to stop my 50 to 55-hour week of working. And so the cash flows were over $500 a month. And so I was able to, within, I think, 2 months or so, I bought my first property. And then as that one was finishing up rehab, and I had a signed lease, I got into 2 more at the same time. So numbers 2 and 3 came simultaneously. And so within 4 or 5 months of joining, I had, $1,600 of cash flow coming in. And so that was what I was looking for, was high cash flow. And so I had enough money. I probably could have gone into multifamily the way they teach. If you have, and it changes based on the markets. But if you have this much money, you can go straight to multifamily. But I chose single family because I wanted the immediate cash flow.
Very good. It's knowing your goals. It's knowing your investing criteria. Why am I doing this? And sometimes that's difficult. And I know, Sorrell, when my wife and I joined back then, we had that conversation. We sat down with our mentor up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and explored that. And we also landed on single family for the same reason. We needed the cash flow to retire her from her very, very bad situation where she was working. So a lot of people are in these situations, and yeah, the cash flow is diminished a little bit now with higher interest rates and higher mortgage rates, but you can still build that, that portfolio and get there as well. And as a mentor, I'm curious. So you started with single family. I did. When you talk with new members nowadays, what is their thinking as to going the single family route as opposed to apartments? Is there a unified sort of theme there, or what are you seeing?
It's not a unified theme, Andy. It's more, it's definitely the individual, that individual or that couple, but it's what their goals are. And that's the main thing we do when someone joins. Even if they join at a preferred level, they still have a single family initial mentor meeting. And so we go over, and what I like to do is, we analyze, because they're told, fill out your financial worksheet. And so they come into the meeting with those numbers. This is the liquid cash I have. These are stocks I have that are not tied to retirement. This is retirement, and then this is equity and the personal residence. And so we want them to look at where all their capital is and then what it's doing. And so, and then we talk about, you're here today, you want to get to here, you want a certain amount of income, you want to retire one or both of you. And so then you're at point A, you want to get to point B. Let's lay out the map to get you from point A to point B. And so what I've done, I've been a mentor for almost 5 years, and what I've done is, here's the single family method to get you there. In most cases, they're going to look at if they're replacing a moderate type of income, and that varies from family to family, but they can do it with a certain number of single-family homes. If they're more of an upper-income family, they probably will at some point go to multifamily. And I'm a single-family mentor, so I can talk in detail about that. I'm a preferred member, but I'm not a multifamily mentor. So if at some point, if they're a challenge member and they have enough money, I advise them to go back to the 2-day again, talk to the 2-day presenters there and clarify that. But what's different now, even though I've been doing this for almost 5 years, is that there are some already current preferred members who've invested in passively, and now they're coming to single family because we have a lot of equity in single family properties in the Houston market. So, but you just mentioned that cash flows have dropped, but the silver lining to that is equity is a lot higher. So,
yes,
first year cash flow may be low, but in a year or so, you can either refi that cash out or sell that property and buy 2 more. So, in effect, you can double that cash flow in less than 18 months.
And with that increased equity capture that we're seeing, and that's true up here in Dallas, I'm seeing it in San Antonio. I've been talking with the sales managers around the country. It's true there as well. You can move very, very quickly. So, hey, we're going to move quickly into a break. We'll be right back.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
Right now, we're coming upon a great opportunity. It's that time in which you're going to find that the marketplace is changing, and it is shifting to a buyer's market away from a seller's market. Number one, the brokers don't want you to know that. They're going to do everything they can do to keep you from believing the truth. Number two, the sellers don't want to believe it, although in the back of their minds they know it. Now, that doesn't mean everybody will crater for you, but some people are going to be in those situations where they have to negotiate for deals, and you've got to be there. Now, if you're not there, you won't get one.
Join us for the free online workshop, and we'll show you how to be in the right place at the right time in any market cycle. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com. lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com. That's lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Andy Webb, filling in today for Al on Tell Al Tuesday, and I'm thrilled to be here with you and with Sorrell. We're speaking with Sorrell out of the Houston market. He's a single-family mentor there and an investor. We heard he retired himself in 3.5 years. We tell you all the time, 5 years or less. Here's another case study for you to learn about in that respect. And Sorrell, I love the travel, man. I love talking travel. I see you on social media, all the cool places you're going. And what did you say? Cyprus and Israel coming up to round off countries 99 and 100 this year.
That is correct, Andy. I've been on this little quest for probably 15 or 16 years now.
I love it. I love it. So that's some cool stuff you're doing with the lifestyle. And let's go back to the single family side. Are there some cool things you've experienced as a single family investor, maybe something unexpected, or I don't know. We teach a lot and we learn a lot at Lifestyles Unlimited, but I personally find once I apply these things, I'm surprised sometimes with how they develop. How about you?
With the single family investing?
Yeah.
I guess the thing that surprised me the most, one of the things I loved when I first came to Lifestyles was kind of the integrity approach to it. I've tried to lead my life with integrity and, lesson learned from my parents. And I was in sales forever, and sales, deservedly so, has a reputation because there are a lot of horrible salespeople. I've met many of them. I've worked with many of them, but I've always tried to work at a company that has integrity. And personally, I've never sold things to people that they don't want it, don't need it, it doesn't fit what their goals are. And when I came to Lifestyles, and the place just kind of screamed integrity. We're not slum landlords. And so that was the biggest thing that hit me. And then as I manage my own properties like you and I were talking, you do too. And just the joy in some of these families moving into these properties. Many people have said in one way or another, because I've had single-family properties for just about 10 years now, and many people have expressed that my property they're moving into is the best place they've ever lived, and just the joy on with the adults and the kids. Sometimes kids are having their own bedroom for the first time, and just those kinds of things. I mean, it's not just a business; it's really helping families.
Yep, good point. And I've heard similar stories, and it's that kind of intangible sort of thing that just really reinforces what we do. And like you said, makes me happy to continue doing it. I do self-manage like you, and I think that makes you a good mentor as well, because you're very much in the details there. And when members like myself, you and I, in fact, had a conversation when we picked up our first couple of rental houses down near Houston. Again, for the listener, I'm in Dallas-Fort Worth, so this is a good 3.5, 4 hour hike for me. I'm not going down there, but we talked about, doing some of the things remotely, like leasing up. You've got that experience, and were able to help me quite a bit in that respect. And yeah, good point. And I do love that about what we see and what we hear from other members at the case study and from their stories. It's not the money, it's the lifestyle, and it's not just our lifestyle, but the lifestyle for those that we are helping with our business. And, I just mentioned, I use the word remote. I am curious, you as a mentor, you're in Houston, so that's your focal area, Houston, the suburbs, the areas around Houston. I talked to you from Dallas. Are you getting a lot more contact as our national footprint has grown from members farther afield or even outside the state?
Absolutely. I became a mentor in 2018, so it's been about 5 years. And almost everybody I talked to for the first year or two was in Houston, buying in Houston. And I still remember I worked with a member who lived in Chicago, and he was buying properties in Houston. And when COVID hit, we took our live case studies. We took basically the entire business virtual overnight. But it was the last live case study we did in Houston just before COVID kind of forced us to go virtual. But we had a member in Chicago who was presenting his 7 properties in Houston, and he had never seen them until he came to Houston for an expo. But he had bought and rehabbed and he was self-managing 7 houses. And so that was my first experience with it. So that was March of 2020. Well, the case date was March of 2020. But since that time, probably about a third of the people I talk to are somewhere else now. Houston is still a good market. So a lot of the members from across the country are buying in Houston. And so I talk to a lot of members from other parts of the country now.
Yeah, it's a great market. I mean, like I said, I picked up a couple down that way, and we're still buying. We're still, investing in single family, looking around Dallas-Fort Worth. I love my backyard, but not just looking in Houston, not just looking in San Antonio, but at some of the other markets. And we've been doing, I don't know if you know this, Sorrell, we've been doing a series of interviews with the sales managers in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Arizona, et cetera, and learning about those markets. And they're basically dealing with that as well on the inverse. We got members from Texas. I saw a case study, in fact, here in Dallas, member buying in Georgia. Well, we're just going all over the place now. So when you get that contact from a remote investor, what are they worried about? What are the big things you're doing as a mentor with them?
First of all, they need to plug in with the realtor team here in Houston to find the properties, and I go over with them what their criteria is, and sometimes we have to kind of put that criteria into the market here. They're looking at maybe somewhere where they're living, and the numbers are completely different. So we go over the market here, and then they work with the realtor to find the right properties. But the biggest thing, which is important even if you're local, but especially when you're not local, is to have a team in place. Because, again, these properties move very quickly. You're going to find a property, you have to make an offer, which sometimes within 24 hours. And many of these require non-refundable deposits. So you got to have, a contractor bid. You got to know what the numbers are going to be. You're not seeing the property in person, so you want to make sure that initially that realtor is walking through, giving you, sometimes live, if not live, sending you videos. And you want those videos to be pretty detailed. Not just standing in one corner of the room, shooting the pretty part over here. And our Lifestyles Realty team knows how to do that extremely well. But they need to have contractors and inspectors and people lined up and insurance quotes. And, of course, their lending has to be in place for Texas. And so we go over all that stuff before they even look at a property. And then once they're ready to go, it needs to be a pretty smooth process.
Sorrell, just the retail buyer, I'm finding they are now acclimated to this higher, for our reality, higher interest rates. This is still relatively low historically. So the demand, it is returning right now. So this is a good time to start because you will have that huge equity capture. And to your point, you sell that one or you refinance it and you get into the next one. Guess what? It's going to have that big equity boom as well. So if you want to grow that net worth, bam, this is how you do it. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Now, you, 10 years now, longtime single-family investor, you've got your own portfolio. I'm curious, what are your goals, aside from travel? We talked about that already, but on the real estate side, what are your goals, moving forward?
Primarily, I'm still adding to my passive investments. I still have eight single-family homes, and I maintain that level just so I can keep my finger on the pulse of the market as a mentor and know what's going on there. So I'll sell one occasionally, maybe buy another one. But I have over the last probably 3 to 4 years, I've bought more. I've invested more into passive multifamily than I have in the single family. Yeah.
Now, you did say, just let me ask you this, thinking passive, right, hands off. You and I know that on the apartment side. I'm not doing anything other than reviewing the offering when it comes out, making a decision, contributing my funds, reviewing monthly reports. Done. That's it. You and I still both have our single-family portfolios that you and I both self-manage. I'm curious, just as a guy that travels like you do, you go over to Cyprus, you go over to Israel. How do you manage your portfolio then?
It's very simple because you don't have to be on site. One thing Lifestyles teaches is best product, best price. You fix everything up front and you minimize maintenance going forward. So I don't get a lot of maintenance calls. When I do get one, I don't run over to the property. So it doesn't matter if I'm sitting in Houston 5 miles from the property or if I'm in Greece, 3,000 miles from the property. The resident will tell me what the issue is. I'll call that particular subcontractor, a plumber, for instance, and have the plumber set the time to meet the resident at the property. I'm not the schedule maker. And then they will call. I'll tell them what the resident told me. and they will go there. They'll call me back and tell me what the issue is, and I'll most of the time say fix it. I've only had one occasion in 10 years where I had to actually go look at a situation after I've had a subcontractor go out. So very simple to manage it. The vast majority of the 3 to 5 maintenance calls I get a year are through text messages. And so very simple to manage those. I have an AC guy go out and once a year to do an AC check, and I have him kind of let me know if he sees something unusual, but that I don't go to the property, so easy to manage.
Yeah, hey, we're exactly same here. Well, get out there for that annual review. I like to do that in the spring, by the way, Sorrell. Well, that's when my renewals start to come down the pike, but also ahead of the tax protest season, so I can get all those. I find the pictures that the residents may not notice that I can then take to the appraisal district, say, hey, man, look at this thing, it's fallen down and whatnot, and get my taxes lowered, protect my cash flow. But great points. Sounds like we went to the same place to learn this stuff, didn't we?
I think we found a good place for some education.
So thinking about that, you are a mentor. Why do you do that?
I absolutely love doing it. When I started the program myself, I joined at the level to get mentorship because I knew nothing about this. I'd never owned a business. I never had real estate. I never was a landlord, even by accident. And so I needed the help. Plus, I was working a lot of hours. And I followed it to a T and listened to what they said, did what they said, and it worked well. I was able to retire. And so, Lifestyles teaches when you've had some level of success, come back and give back to help others. And so when I had the opportunity to do that, I jumped at the chance. And again, I was traveling a lot. I thought I would do it for a couple of years, and then I would, I've given back. Now I'm ready to move on and do more traveling. And so, but I absolutely love doing it. And then also I get to, just like I can manage my properties from remotely, I can mentor remotely. I've actually taken mentor calls and answered emails from around the world. And so it doesn't really cut into my travel. But also, I love helping people. I absolutely love it. I've done it for almost 5 years now, and I've actually worked with several people, a couple who've done it the full cycle, and they've hit their retirement goals through just single family, but a lot more who've moved on to multifamily. But I've now worked with many families who've gone through that entire cycle of retirement, and it's almost exciting when someone tells me they're retiring, as it was when I was able to retire.
Yeah, like Al Gordon.
I absolutely love seeing that.
And then you go scuba diving with them. You get out there, you're enjoying the lifestyle together, right? I love that. So, Sorrell, thanks for coming on today and sharing all of this with us. I do appreciate it. And you're a clear demonstration of the fact that, hey, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. You're enjoying it. You've brought a lot of people along for the ride. Keep it up. Thank you very much.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.